keeping you up to date across the UK, online, on DAB+, and on the TalkRadio app.
Rob Rinder on TalkRadio.
Good afternoon, everybody. I love this job. You know, you go from the sublime, the profound, to the absurd. And it's just great sitting in this chair because I get to talk about things that otherwise, you know, people keep under the sheets. Now, according to a YouGov poll, 10% of Brits say they would be open to polyamory. What is polyamory? I hear you asked, unless you're a footballer. The answer is it's the practice of engaging in multiple romantic relationships with the consent of all involved. That's a critical thing, the consent of all involved. But what are the benefits of a polyamorous relationship? And is it as simple as a free pass? You've done that in inverted commas, as a free pass from your partner. Now, before we go to our expert, I always like to include my creative community that I work with. It's a posh way of saying it's our team. And, you know, we represent the critical diversity, not just power. I mean, I come in here every day a bit like Mariah Carey on steroids, and they listen to what I have to say. But we have Tom. Knew I'd get that wrong. Sorry. We have Tomothy here. Now, Tommy is a young man, and I've asked him to be here because I want to know whether there's a different response across the generations. As we also listen to our expert today, we've got Roy Graff, who's the founder of Open Relating, which is a relationship and dating. He's founder of Open Relating, a relationship and dating coaching practice. Now, that's not English, and that's Steve's fault, and he's going to tell us later at some point about his list. But stay listening for what I mean in due course. He's putting his thumb up. Now, have we got you there, Roy Graff?
Hi, I'm here, yes.
Well, thank you for being with us today. I want to ask you this. You know, first of all, what is a polyamorous relationship, and what are the benefits to it?
Well, that's a massive question. What it is just like any other relationship, except that you have more than one at the same time.
More than one. Now, out of interest, it seems to me that at the heart of it is the issue of consent of all involved. Roy Graff, you're here. I wonder, are you in a polyamorous relationship?
So I've been polyamorous for about 11 years.
Right.
And I'm currently, I have multiple relationships. I have 2 relationships of several years, and I'm also dating a few other people.
My goodness, I don't know how you have time to keep your trousers on, Roy Graff. But out of interest, I wondered, I mean, obviously we didn't reach out to your partners. I mean, do they all know of one another? Would they come and talk to us and say how wonderful polyamory is, or is it you?
They all know about that I'm here, and they're quite excited for me to be here.
Right.
They not all necessarily want to be public about it. Sometimes for work reasons or family reasons, they have their own reasons to not be open about this whole thing. But of course, they all know about each other, and we all meet up, for example, on my birthday, and they see each other. But their relationship is with me, not with each other.
So you all have one birthday party together. And they know each other, and they're all sort of happy with that. Out of interest, are any of the women polyamorous? Is it women? I presume so. I don't know, Roy Graff. I don't want to assume anything.
It's good to not assume, but in my case, I'm heterosexual, and they are women. Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. So, and are they polyamorous as well? Any of them? You don't have to name them. I mean, are you fine about them having relationships?
Of course, I'm very fine about it, and I'm very happy when they have relationships as well.
How did you get into it? Polyamory.
Well, so I was in monogamous relationships for a very long time. Normally, I was married before. I had long-term relationships, but I always felt a bit restricted, and that I wasn't fully free. And I didn't know what it was about. I didn't know polyamory was a thing. And when my last monogamous relationship ended, I started dating again, and I met a woman that introduced that to me. She said she was non-monogamous and wanted to be non-monogamous with anybody she dates.
Right.
So I thought about it. It made sense to try. And once I tried, I never looked back.
Now, I'm wondering whether or not, this is really about respect, open and honesty. I mean, what you say is polyamory is fine. Having lots of partners fine as long as you're open and honest with one another. Is that the critical factor?
It's extremely critical that there is consent for everybody involved, that everybody's feeling is taken into consideration, that we are open and honest about everything that's going on, and that there are no sneaky surprises or things that we hide. So transparency and authenticity are extremely important.
And presumably the issue of respect. But one wonders, ultimately these are emotions are involved here. Do you get jealous of your partner seeing other people? I mean, don't you form attachments? I mean, that happens during sex for some people, not everyone.
So I believe that some people are born and have this orientation of being polyamorous, just like other people are monoamorous and are happy just loving one person and don't want anything else. So if that's the right dynamic for you, that will feel right.
Right.
Jealousy is still a factor sometimes, yes, because we are conditioned and socialized to expect to only have one partner. Right. So if my partner is seeing somebody else, I might get triggered from some of my socialization to think that it's not okay, or to be afraid that she might prefer the other person over me. Right. And it's something that challenges me to grow as a person, to understand more why I'm feeling insecure and work on that myself, because it's not really her responsibility to make me feel secure. It's my responsibility.
But are you saying that, you're either polyamorous or monogamous, and as Lady Gaga might say, you're born that way?
I feel for myself and for many people that I work with that I know that that's the case. But I think that there are also other reasons why somebody might choose to live a non-monogamous lifestyle. Right. There are people who are, for example, married or have one primary partner, but they still have casual sex or swinging or other forms of non-monogamy that isn't specifically polyamory, because there isn't a love connection involved. It's more about sexual diversity, kind of variety, and having different activities with different people.
Roy Graf, can I just ask you see, I think this is a bit of confusion. In certain communities, you might have a marriage, but you have consent to have sex elsewhere. Things like swinging. I'm looking to Steve. What's that word? Dogging, for instance, where they have things like that, where it's about sex. Just to be clear, this isn't just about sex. This is about love between different partners. You can have a romantic relationship, a deep-seated emotional connection, in addition to just sex. This is not swinging. I need to emphasize that. Is that right?
It's important to emphasize that polyamory is not about the sex. People obviously have sex in relationships, but also there are asexual people that have romantic relationships without sex.
Yeah. So I mean, I love lots of my girlfriends. But I'm a gay man. I wonder, does that mean I'm polyamorous with them? What's the difference?
With polyamory, you have love, you have intimacy, you have commitment to be each other's partners.
I see.
So if you see your girlfriends as people that you think of as partners, maybe you are polyamorous. That's for you to decide. We are capable of having.
Who knew? I'm going back in the closet, Roy Graf. Who knew? Well, I just want to say, Roy Graf, it's annoying I don't have you here all day, because very, very interesting. But, I'm interested about the extent to which the younger generation, I'm going to ask, how old are you, Roy Graf?
I'm 51.
Oh, my goodness. You've stumbled on some happy lighting. God. What's her name? Liz, you don't know Lizzie Cundy, do you, Roy Graf?
No.
Oh, well, I'm going to introduce you to her. I'm telling you. Well, the two of you, whatever you're doing and however much it costs, tell us afterwards. Now, I want to know about the different generations. I've got Tom here, or Tomothy as we like to call him. I'm interested in this. Do you think it's healthy to have, for example, even in a monogamous relationship, this sort of idea that you might meet somebody else and an open discussion with your partner to say, look, if you met that person, you would be allowed to have a polyamorous relationship with them. Some people call it the list. So in a marriage, you might say, for example, yes, Rob, if I was in a marriage, if you met Taron Egerton and he said, I will be in an open relationship, you're allowed, because you're never going to meet him and because you love him so much. Do you think that's a wise thing to do?
Are you asking me or Tom?
Well, I'm asking you, and then we're going to ask Tom, who's on his list.
Okay. I think that regardless of your relationship dynamic, it's important, very important that you're able to talk about anything, that you have that intimacy and trust to talk about your desires, your dreams, your wishes, even if you're attracted to somebody. It doesn't mean you have to act on it, but ultimately having a permission-based relationship where you're not in control of your partner, you're not allowing them to do anything, but you're agreeing to be with them while they choose what they do with their life.
Right.
And I think that every relationship is expected to change and grow and develop in unexpected ways in the future. Right. You can't expect the dynamic to stay the same as when you first met. and when you first fall in love.
Roy Graff says this is about being, I'm paraphrasing, grown up and about respect. But I asked him a question, which is about the sort of idea of possibly having that one woman, in your case, on the list, where if you met, your girlfriend would be like, fine, you're allowed, get out of the way. As my grandma would say, gay gazint. Who's on yours?
Well, I don't think I have a list in that I'd get a free pass with this person. There is one person on a list of sorts that I'm allowed to say is attractive, and I'm allowed to enjoy looking at aesthetically. And bear with me on this, Rob, because the person on that list, Meryl Streep.
Shh. I actually, sorry, if you're listening to this, I've actually had a moment. You are all at a first. Listeners, Rob Rinder is, I can't speak. Meryl Streep!
Have you never
What? What are you talking about?
Picture the scene.
Sorry, Roy Graff, stay with us. What? In what?
She is gorgeous.
Thank you, Roy.
You're
She is
her
gorgeous.
age, Roy. He's 20. How old are you?
Roy's not her age. She's in her 70s.
Okay.
But you wouldn't know, would you? That's the
No, you
beauty
wouldn't
of
know.
Meryl Streep. You wouldn't know. She's brilliant. Mamma Mia, Greek Island, Dungarees. I need to say no more.
What other films? I mean,
No, that's it. No, that's it.
no, not had a sort of a cheeky evening to Sophie's Choice.
Never seen it. Don't need to. Got Mamma Mia.
Mamma Mia.
Yeah, but only in that film. She's a very attractive lady.
I have to say, and I'm listeners, listen. You know, anybody can like their own thing, but I love Meryl Streep because of her dungarees in Mamma Mia. Is maybe the gayest paragraph I've heard ever, possibly ever. But Roy Graff, actually, it's interesting because what Timothy was saying, and don't think Steve's looking at me clapping as if he's getting out of this scot-free. That ain't going to happen. Roy Graff, actually, what I was detecting from what Timothy was saying there is that there was a degree where there was a shutter down even on having the discussion that he might be able to say to his partner, look, you know, I love you very much, but I would like to be open to the idea of loving other people at the same time. That discussion would be completely impossible. And your point is that should always be a possible thing. It's part of, in your view, and you articulately put it, human nature. You don't think you can ever have that discussion without getting dumped?
I don't think I'd want to. That's not something that personally I would be interesed in. But
You're not born that way.
I'm not born that way. But I also don't think that it is a discussion that would be necessary within my relationship.
Yeah, it's a good one. I think. Well, I'm hopefully gonna. Well, I'm not allowed to say you're getting married yet. You're too young.
I'm not.
No, I know. Okay, I just want to come to. I haven't been to a wedding for either. Right, just stay with us, Roy, because you know, sitting there like somebody like a hot escapee from the 70s is Steve, and we can hear. We can hear him, can't we? Help us out, Amy. Steve, just give us your top three, please. Okay.
Top three would be Rob Rinder.
Please.
Then followed by Gary Wilmot, and then probably Bradley. What's his name?
No,
from
give
the
it.
Chase.
Yeah, give us
Bradley
the real
Walsh.
ones, please. Do me a favour. You're about as gay as Phil Mitchell.
No, I've had an agreement actually.
Go on.
But the thing is, my list is quite old, so it will tell you how long I've been with my other
be
half.
older than Meryl Streep. Do you know what? I'm actually still in shock about that.
Yeah, but to be fair,
I mean, she is gorgeous. But sorry, carry on. Sorry.
To be fair, Tom has always had an eye for the vintage model, and so you have to applaud him for that.
I do.
So
I do. I mean, look at Emmanuel Macron. I mean, you know, the difference between him is the difference between the same age as me and my mum. I don't know how I've got into this cul-de-sac. Help us out. Who's on the list?
Nigella.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's understandable. I love her. Yeah.
Julianne Moore.
Yes. This is a list.
I'm a classicist, really.
Yeah.
And it also Lizzie Cundy.
Well, Roy is going to be introduced to Lizzie Cundy later, and I'm sure that they're going to have a deep-seated discussion about the Freudian and Jungian basis for what polyamory means. Now, Roy Graff, can I just close off this discussion? You know, you talked about human nature, and there's a lot of people that make your argument. I have to say, it chiefly seems to be men who say, look, you know, I want to be free to love whoever I want, and this is, if you like, an innate feature of human nature. and it's only societal mores that has restricted my capacity as a man to take whatever woman I want, as long as there's consent. Do you think that that's a fair summation of it?
Not at all. I think that both men and women and non-binary people have the capacity, and some of them are polyamorous, some of them are not. And if more people knew that that was an option and it wasn't so stigmatized, I believe there'll be more people that would want to explore that kind of lifestyle. But in polyamory circles, it's primarily women that lead the desire to practice polyamory, and
isn't that just because isn't that just because, you know, it's a bit like they look at their husband and having sex with them, as some person describes, a bit like a wardrobe with a key sticking out, falling on them?
Well, my theory is that for a very long time, patriarchy created this dynamic where women were dependent on men. You know,
Right.
When women were able to actually have their own jobs and to vote and to be independent? So they had to be monogamous to basically have that survival. And now that women don't need men, they can be free to explore whatever relationship works for them, and they're leading men with them. In many cases, it's the women that are the ones asking for the relationship to open up. It's not the men.
Well, yeah, I have to say, meeting some of my straight men, I had no idea how they breed, but there you are, Roy Graff. So if people are interested in this and they want to do it in a grown-up, mature, safe way, and I must emphasise, Roy Graff, you know, you've been sensible in this regard. You said what matters at the heart of this is respect and consent of all parties. But one of the challenges I have is it's often a time of crisis in a relationship where this discussion emerges. You know, I don't want to leave you, but I'd like to open up the discussion to a more open sexual relationship, for instance. How should people find out more about it? Can they go to your website?
They can go to my website, which is openrelating.love, or find me on Instagram at openrelating.
Right. Just to be clear, it's about love. We're not going to see any ropey pictures. I'm going to get into trouble, Roy Graff.
It's a run-of-the-mill coaching and mentoring website, yes. But there is a lot of information there that's available about how to go about starting this exploration, how to talk to your partner about it. And then I offer both couples facilitation and individual coaching. And what you said about the crisis, ideally you would do that opening up of a relationship when you're in a good place, where you're solid, where you communicate well, where you're happy with each other, and then you just want to explore more.
Right.
Doing it as a reaction to a crisis is not the best idea.
Well, I think that's right. Roy Graff, you've been very clear. It's been a delight to talk to you and, you know, talk about, you know, love in a more kind of grown-up way.